Hey guys, how's it going? It is January 6th, 2018. I keep checking the days. I'm like, man, it's the 6th already. No, I knew that. I trust me. I didn't know the exact date. If it was the 6th or 7th, I couldn't remember, but I definitely am aware how the time is running this month, week by week now. I believe what do I got? 17 days before the move. However, I am good to be where I'm at. Let me just check my volume, because the reason why I'm going to check my volume is because I betcha recording devices. Let me just check here. Kind of went down a bit, not much though. I knew that might happen because I was on Hangouts the other night, and I thought maybe it's going to go down a bit, but it's okay. So yeah, what I did though. Actually, I won't show you that yet. I'll show you that in a minute. So yeah, I'm well aware. Of course, if you haven't seen a video of mine for a while, or a vlog or whatever, I'm in basically the last month of being here. I've been here where I live right now, central part of St. Catharines. I've been here now for, I guess it's been about 7 years. I've been here since my separation. Oddly enough, I'm going back to where I lived. The exact apartment too. It's kind of weird how things kind of go full circle, literally and figuratively, but yeah. So what happened was, well, first, not to leave you hanging. I mean, the week. It's before I get into that. No, I'll explain. Let me explain this part first. So, what had happened was, after this is separation or whatever. I'm not going to get into those details. I'm sure I've talked about it, at one point or another. Unfortunately, what had happened, and I say unfortunately, but in many ways it's actually, I wouldn't call anybody, passing, like a good thing. But what it ended up doing for me is actually given me an opportunity. Though I would have been fine, actually. I would have been fine for the next couple of years. I could have had a room. There's all kinds of different scenarios, but I knew, including making money with video games and whatever, if I ever was to get my button gear and do that, which... but what happened was my ex-mother-in-law passed away earlier this year. Once that took place, I waited for a while, but I know... my ex, she's got plenty of friends and all that, but it was particularly hard this year, and we just got over the Christmas holidays. It was particularly hard, to some extent, more my ex than my son. But my son, he's struggled a bit because the weird thing is, living in a basement apartment. I think they moved upstairs actually towards the end there, with them, with my ex-mother-in-law, because with the health concerns and all that. So it didn't happen suddenly. There was a lot of signs. Of course, that falls. I mean, I'm hearing stuff of falls. Scott's been mentioning things to me lately. I'm like, Jesus, Murphy. That scares the shit out of me when I hear that. Pardon my French, but I know people who've had falls, including falls are not a good thing. It's happened with my ex-mother-in-law. It's happened with it didn't happen with my mom, but it happened with my father. I think it happened with my grandmother years back. So I'm well aware, and those can really shorten your life. Especially, it doesn't necessarily have to be serious either. I mean, it's just the way it is. Those things can get really nasty. And I mean, I'm in fairly good health right now, but boy, it's like, you know, living in a basement and having to climb upstairs. I always worry about that sometimes too. I mean, but you know, that by the sounds of it, that's going to become the norm, at least as far as I can tell. My ex and I get along fine. I've been here for 7 years. So what ended up happening was they basically she basically took over. She was already on the main floor. The basement became sort of was going to become sort of my son's man cave or something like that, or I don't know what that was. He's only 10. He doesn't need a whole freaking basement to himself. Although it was, you know, it was interesting. Yeah, I mean, it certainly had its advantages. Um, and as great as him and I get along, I don't know how enthusiastic he was that I was moving back, because I don't know, maybe he had kind of dibs on the basement, or he thought maybe, you know, that he was going to get something out of that. But I basically put the offer out. I waited a few, you know, I waited, I think, about a couple of months after she passed, and I basically said, you know, I can move in. I said, since you're upstairs, you know, I'm not dating, she's not dating, I can move in. And I said basically that, you know, it'd be a lot, you know, one, it'll be a lot easier on my son, because then he'll have his mom around, he'll have me around. I mean, he's growing up pretty quick, and soon enough I'm not going to be, you know, he's going to be wanting to do his own things. But to have that flexibility and not have to worry about, if he wants to go see his friends, he can go see his friends, and he's going to want to do that. Right now it's kind of goofy because he has to be at certain places on certain days by the agreement, and you know, we accommodate each other pretty good anyways. We've worked it out good for 7 years. Like I said, we get along fine. Neither one of us is dating. Even if we were, I don't think it would bother me. Maybe would I get jealous? I doubt it. But as far as I know, she has no interest in anybody, and if it was going to become a problem, well then you know, I'd have to decide. You know, what is it going to be? But no, I you know, the crazy thing is that I've been through this kind of before, because it's kind of strange, because I had this is really, and I'm getting into some real personal stuff here, but I had an ex-girlfriend once. Oddly enough, an ex-girlfriend before I met my ex-wife, and we ended up breaking up, but we still lived together. This has happened before, except this is a different situation. She's actually, like, with what's happening as of February, my ex is becoming my landlord, and there's a lot of not complications to that, but there's a lot of things that have to be done. I mean, she just got a new window put on in the basement, a legal window, to make it a legal apartment, because apparently it never was legal when my ex and I were down there underneath the mother-in-law. So, but I was, you know, I'm walking all around in circles here. But anyways, another ex of mine, she wound up, we were doing fine, everything was fine, and then I noticed she was just acting weird. And it was actually, she was very dependent on me all of a sudden. It was really weird, and she was going to see a psychiatrist and all this other stuff. And you know, the one time, and she was bisexual. This is where the issues became. So I noticed some strange behavior, but she was seeing a psychiatrist, and I remember the psychiatrist, and she told me this. She openly told me this. We had a great relationship, or, you know, at least at the time, and you know, we still see each other now and then, say hi or whatever. There's no hard feelings. But what ended up happening was her psychiatrist said, "You're a lesbian," and I thought, oh, okay. I thought that was interesting, and so did she. She thought that I don't, you know, and I says, "Are you?" I said, "How can you be that?" I says, "You've been attracted to me." What you know, it's like, how can that be? And she says, I don't believe that. I don't think she's right. I says, and yeah, and she would basically say no, you know, that she didn't buy that, even though her psychiatrists were telling her this, but she was having these panic attacks and all this other stuff. But that's what the psychiatrist had said. And then suddenly, not suddenly, but slowly over the course of the next little while, I mean, what had happened was she, you know, friends of her were talking to me and basically saying that she needed to, quote unquote, be with women more. That she was missing that part of, you know, and whatever. So because, you know, and I'm getting into this whole sexual thing, but anyways, because it was only sexual, I didn't worry too much about it. At first, it took me a while, but then I let it go. I said, okay, as long as I'm being treated fairly, then that's fine. You know, it was a real weird relationship. So I let it go. But then came a point where all of a sudden I felt as though I wasn't getting the attention I deserved. And that's where the issue became one time where I said, you know, you're just treating me like crap. Like, what the hell's going on? And that's when she finally basically said, I said, remember the time when she said I was lesbian? Yeah. I says, that's because I am. And we were together for 3 years. And I says, and you knew this all along? I says, no. She never knew this, but I guess what had happened was, she always had those feelings, but she put this whole facade to try not. She had to please her grandfather or something like that. Or I can't. I forget how it goes, but she didn't want to disappoint her grandfather who raised her, because, you know, her parents passed away young, and I don't know. It sounds really goofy, but anyways, I know I'm getting. You gotta love these vlogs. I'm getting into my old personal past, but so what had happened was, I said, you know, and I wasn't prepared for this because everything was fine. I was like, you know, like, what the hell am I supposed to do? She says, you know, like, she said, well, you don't have to leave. We get along fine. And I said, yeah, I guess. And, yeah, okay, thank you. Telling me my computer's cuttering from slowdowns or something. Gotta love these stupid AVG pop-ups. But, so I was like, okay, that's fine. And I remember one test I had of this was that, despite the fact that she was now my ex-girlfriend, and I think I was, yeah, I think I was, well, because she, number one, because she was a lesbian, it wasn't going to bother her if I was going to start dating anybody. And I think I was trying to date somebody, or no. I never ended up dating anybody until I met my ex. At that point, I was just sick of women. I couldn't believe what had happened. Some of my, you know, friends and whatever, it's like you're so bad you turned her into a lesbian. I said no, she already was a lesbian, she just didn't know it. And yeah, I said I jokingly, macho like, I would tell my friends at the time, I would say, yeah, I'm just too much man for her. That's, you know, I turned her lesbian because I was just too much man. She couldn't handle it. Anyways, yeah, I remember the ego days. I still have an ego, but I try to hide it. I guess we all have egos, but and then, you know, now I've been single now for, how long have I been single? Probably 5 years. I actually did date after, but anyways, before I head to that, so the ex, what had ended up happening though was she had some of, you know, her little flings over. And she lived in the she actually moved into the basement section. There was a bedroom downstairs. It was sort of like a partial. We shared the kitchen, or whatever. And then we wound up we were roommates. We wound up moving out. Was it we moved from? Oh no, sorry, we had already moved from Pelham Road to this section of town. It was actually not too far from here, where I live right now in the central area. But we're probably about maybe about 10 blocks away from here. And this apartment that we lived in, I was on the main floor, and there was like a really small half basement or half cut or whatever the hell they call it. There was an upper floor, and then there was a main floor, and there was like a half cut basement. So I had the main floor. It was a really nice apartment. I liked it, and everything was cool about it. But what ended up happening was she had the bedroom downstairs, and of course I'd come down, and I'd hear what was going on in the basement, and it kind of bothered me, but it was just like, okay, whatever. I've been through it before. So yeah, I would still have a little bit of jealousy, but it didn't affect us. I was fine with it. And then eventually I wound up, and I still wasn't interested in women. And I would kind of look up, I would actually kind of look out for her, because I would say, I would actually look out for her and, try to make sure she was okay. I was kind of like it became like a big brother to her. It was really weird. But everything was fine. Everything was fine. And then I met somebody, which ended up being my ex. And somebody at work who I worked with was like, hey, you got to meet this. You got to meet her. She's perfect for you. I says, I'm not interested in dating anymore. Nah, Sean, you got to meet this person. I was like, okay, fine, I'll meet her. Went out meeting her, and I wasn't really attracted at first, but I heard she was attracted to me, which kind of made me feel good. So then I gave it a shot. And then I started seeing the possibilities, and then I started realizing, I was getting, I think I was in my getting close to my mid-30s. Early 30s, because, yeah, I was into my early to mid-30s at that point. And I was like, this is my one shot if I'm going to ever have children. Because at that point, I'd already given up. I was like, I'm never going to have kids. It's just going to be me. And I was like, wow. And so, yeah, we got along and everything was great. She had never really dated anybody. So I thought I was safe. I thought I wasn't going to get hurt. I thought everything would be cool. Nobody would be damaged, because I've been into a lot of relationships where either damaged, women with damaged relationships or whatever. And yeah, I haven't had a great deal of luck with relationships, and I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, because I've had my issues, and I certainly I tend to be very individualistic in many ways, despite the fact that I go through my own emotions, especially on after I drop my son off. But anyways, that was a couple hours ago, so I've been fine today. I'm pretty good, actually. So yeah, but then we started dating, and that's when my ex decided to move out. My ex-girlfriend decided to move out, feeling that it would be kind of awkward if she was still there. And I understood why she was doing it. And she had a place that she was going to move to and all that. And she ended up moving out, and it was just me. And I went through a depression, because nobody was around. It was really goofy, but all these things I talk about, and man, I've gone through a lot of stuff here. But bottom line is, I've been through it before. I've been through different situations. I've been able to handle a lot of situations. But honestly, from a financial standpoint, it's much easier for me to, the cost of living is higher, housing's up, the markets are not the greatest. I was losing money. I think I've talked about that last year. So now, not only would I be breaking even, but I've actually started, by the time my car gets paid off, I'd be into a surplus. So this was going to be really good for me. Now the reason why, so anyways, that's the whole nut and bolts of the story. I don't know what else I was going to talk about in regards to that, but So yeah, I'm preparing to move back into the apartment that I was there 7 or 8 years ago. It's really strange, to say the least. But everybody seems okay with it. Her friends seem fine. Her family thinks it's great. Um, Most people I've talked to think it's great. My best friend thinks it's a mistake. He never really specified why. I asked him to, but he didn't say. He just says it's not a good idea. He wouldn't elaborate. I was like, all right, I won't push you on it. He just says no. The reason why is she's your ex. I said, yeah, I understand that. I said, but look at the cost savings. Look at the fact it's my son. Look how much that I, go through on a week, and I get torn up. This whole Sunday thing. You guys have been through that before, where I get into a Sunday and I just start losing my freaking mind. And as much as it's, only 3, and I'm not worried about. Actually, I can live with it. I've been through. Like this past week, there was a couple days where I didn't see him. After I got back to work, I was able to get through that. It was like two full days. I was able to get through that. Even I think Scott and I were going to get together and do something on that day, and we didn't. So I still got through it. And now I'm today, and I remember saying this. I thought today would be a real test for me, but right now I'm actually work is starting to calm down a bit. I don't know if it's going to pick up a little bit later, but I've actually, on Friday, I got a lot of my backlog accomplished at work. I still have a few other things that I need to go through, so there is still a little bit of backlog, but I believe I have enough time tomorrow. I had a lot of little fires that I had to put out. I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday, but there was these little fires that were coming up. Yeah, I think it was Thursday, but I wasn't really that busy for part orders, and truck orders were not a big deal, but there was these little fires that I had to deal with. But no, I got through them, so I'm not. And then I actually had I had horrible sleep last week after I started to get back to work. I was so used to having all this time where I, would sleep 8-hour days, and then suddenly I started going back to work last week. Even when things calmed down at work, I was still sleeping 6 hours. I couldn't get any more than 6 hours. That 6 hours isn't bad, but I was trying for 8 hours. I try for 8 hours every night, regardless, because I know my body can do it. My biggest problem is my bladder after 6, and then then my mind is focused on the clock and the alarm going off. Usually it's focused on that. Sometimes it focuses on I start thinking about the move. That's usually the number one issue with me right now. So I looked today at what was going on. My son and I procrastinated today, and I just said, screw it, I don't care. I said, we're having a fun weekend. We'll have time. I've already personally gone through a lot by myself. I said there's a lot. There's a lot that him and I are going to go through, mainly train stuff, I think. I said, but don't worry about it. I'm going to make sure that little by little I'm going to tackle this. And I may tackle some tonight, I may not, I'm not sure. But here's the situation with me. First of all, I took a look at my car. I drive a Fiat 500. They're not very big cars. And despite that, one thing came to mind today as I look right at it, and that is my television. It's 58 inches across, 58 inches wide. And I remember I could not get that TV home in the car that I used to own. Never mind the car I have now, which is much smaller. But I could not get that TV home. I generally could. I have the seats down right now. I could fit my boat in it. I can fit the new container I bought. I can fit usually about 4 big boxes in the back. no problem. I was looking the filing cabinet. I probably can do, but it was going to take multiple trips. And what was happening was I started counting the days, and I'm trying to think, okay, do I have enough stored up for each day of the rest of the week? And I started realizing it's just like, I'm getting worried. I'm getting too worked up about all this. I just need to figure out exactly how it is. And I'm not too sure why I decided, like, number one, I got the furniture's going. Actually, I found out that I finally found out this week that I do have a furniture pickup scheduled for the day of the move, which is going to be 3 Fridays from now. Just I think it's like 18, 19 days from now. So that's basically the move day. That's the last day. I'm going to leave work early that day. I may go back in, I'm not too sure, but that's going to be my moving day, so I don't really plan on doing much, although I'm certainly okay to going back into work and making sure, because I got 2 truck shipments that day, which figures. So I'm going to try to figure that out, but hopefully I'll get everything pre-entered and everything will be fine. But yeah, I started thinking about the TV, and I was just like, well, wait a minute. If I can't fit the TV in my car, I'm gonna have to find a way to get it there anyways. So I had this furniture move that they were gonna come in and they were going to take it away. I'd have to pay $60. They're also offering to do a pickup now, and the fact that they're able to help me allows me to not worry about getting anybody else to help me. So they're okay. They say they can do that, but they can only pick up between noon and 2 Monday to Friday. So I thought, well, I'll pick the very last Friday, and I'm moving. I've already got permission with the ex to move in back into the basement on that last Friday. I'm going to be buying a new bed for myself. I'm not buying a smaller bed. I still have the queen size bed. Actually, it was our old bed, which is kind of funny. I was like, no, I'm not bringing that back. I don't need a queen size bed. I've had I want something smaller. And then my son wants to have his mattress, or at least a mattress. He wants to have one in the bedroom with me for the time being, because he says he likes he's 10 years old, but he's still a suck. He loves the fact that I can tuck him in at night, and I'm like, ugh. He'll just tear at my heartstrings. I'm like, yeah, but you got your own bed upstairs. I says you don't have to worry about that. I says you and I go on trips. I'll tuck you in then. Yeah, but I don't know if that's gonna work. He's just like, nah. I'm like, okay. I said, hey, if that's what you want to do, that's fine by me. I says, I don't know how much room there's going to be in this, because the bedroom that I'm going to be moving into is a lot much smaller. But the thing was, I was getting back to it. I started thinking about the TV. I was like, how the hell am I going to move this TV? So I just booked a U-Haul tonight. I said, screw it. I don't need a big truck. All I need is a van. I probably could have borrowed the van at work. Maybe I should have asked them. It probably would have saved me some money there. But I decided to. I felt weird of asking, so I'm just kind of mentioning the move and stuff like that. I might mention to some of the people at work that I got the move coming up, and just see if they're gonna let me. See if they volunteer to. I don't want to ask to use the van, because I have a van at work, right? And that would settle everything, and I can top it off with fuel. But I don't feel right asking for permission to use that van. I've been there for 2.5 years, and I mean, yeah, it just sits there and does nothing else. But I'd feel kind of weird about that, so I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So, but yeah, so that's my thing. So that takes a bit of the stress off of me, so that's why I'm probably in a better mood too tonight. But what's happening now? I've still made quite a bit of progress. I donated another bag to the clothes bin today. Tied that up. Went for a walk with my son, and We drop that off. Most of what I have is paper, old electronics that I'm going to end up recycling. I'm looking around. I honestly, it's, I got some valuables, collectibles that are going to go. There's none of the appliances except my countertop dishwasher, and I got a rice cooker, George Foreman pizza cooker. It's real small things. Oh yeah, the microwave's going. So it's a lot. Now in retrospect, I think it's a lot easier to get the U-Haul. Basically said I'll have it for 5 hours, and so that Friday I'm going to basically have my son with me. He can help load it up with me. He won't have to carry anything heavy, and he can help load it up with me. And we'll get it. We'll get it all loaded up, and that'll be it. And it'll be much easier that way. We get it all loaded up and take one trip, and that should be it. Make it nice and sweet, and then I can enjoy the rest of my weekend. And then come Sunday, I'll come back and do a little bit of cleanup, because I still have the place to the end of the month. It's just do a little bit of cleaning, sweeping, making sure everything's okay. If there's any last, I'll make sure all the big stuff goes, and if there's any small stuff still left over or whatever, then that's fine. I'll be able to do that. But that'll make things a lot easier for me. I think just makes it much easier. So I started thinking about it. I'm just like, let's just do that. And I might even drive out to Welland to drop off something that I was going to drop off to my cousin. So maybe I'll bring that with me on that one trip instead of even hauling it in my car. But we'll see. I may end up doing that anyways or whatever. So who knows? Either that, or I'll keep it. I'll keep it at my place. We'll see. I'll have to think about it, because I know I can put that in the car and drag that up to Welland. That's not a big deal. But so I'll be moving to the west side of town again, and that's all cool. So anyways, now that I've gone through all that story, this is what I did 34 minutes ago. So that took me about a half an hour. Wow. Hopefully that was entertaining. So this post here, and for those of you not on this is my January availability. Basically, I'm continuing to monitor up and coming sessions, and will be available. This is on the Southwest Forum. It will be available if necessary for all of them. If I can't make it for some reason, I'll reply to the appropriate thread. However, I'm looking to passively participate in these sessions. In other words, I have a move in about 18 days, and I'm in the process of cleaning up. I'm going to be posting a vlog on my channel shortly, which is what I'm doing right now. Explain what that means. Basically, those that are available to dispatch and want the opportunity to DS, feel free to sign up for Central, which is what I normally do, like say on a Monday and a Wednesday night if a session's available, which there is this week. There's a Monday session, a Wednesday session on the Southwest. I will likely sign on to each session, I should say, regardless, and do a live stream in Railfan, which is what I'm letting you guys know. I'll probably run some AI equipment from the cab and possibly be a utility conductor. So if they need somebody to bring a train in or stuff like that, or whatever, or if they don't have enough dispatchers, I'll dispatch Central. Whatever it is. But basically, I'm throwing that out there so that anybody who's interested in dispatching, I'm not going to be pushing to dispatch. And this may be the new norm for me, actually. Come February anyways, and I'll get more into that in a few minutes. That way, if somebody needs to be done, I can step in and help. I think I'm ahead of the game so far as the move goes, but until everything is packed, I won't be completely sure of myself, if that makes sense. So far, the packing is going well. I've thrown out a lot of stuff while donating plenty of clothes and other goodies. If I don't see a reply in the DS threads, I will be ready to take on Central regardless. I can usually dispatch while getting stuff done, which is true. Hope this makes sense. I'll see you Monday regardless. So that's been posted over onto the Southwest Forum. Tonight, oops, I'm into the emails now. I didn't mean to do that. Tonight, I am in a process now. I'm waiting to see. I think Scott's doing something, but we might be able. We might. I think Scott and I want to get. He's got a microphone now, so I think I'm going to probably stay off the live stream tonight, and we're going to try to figure out a few things, or at least I want to figure out a few things. I want to figure out what he's really getting in, wants to get into in between. Because my Sundays, there's going to be some availability on Sundays. I don't know what's going to happen once I move in. I really don't know. My son on Sunday nights, honestly, I may see him a lot more. I don't know. Because this whole custody thing goes through a gray area once I'm there. I mean, yeah, there's a custody, and yeah, by rights, if Jackie's got something to do, she can do it. So it's one of those things that is going to be gray area. From what I understand, my son will have the freedom to, and I'm okay with it on my end. If he wants to go upstairs and do something on a weekend, or if he wants to go see a friend or whatever. I mean, we just started talking about him actually getting in the process of staying home alone now. In fact, he did that the other night. She was worried about me not knowing about that. I was kind of surprised because I didn't think she was ready. She's been very cautious of him with having a computer and all this other stuff. And I said, no. I says, for the last 6 months, I've been leaving him in a car. I'm not worried about leaving him in a car when I go inside a store. He's 10 years old. He's a red belt karate. And he's almost as tall as me now. He's getting very close. I'm 5'10". He's not quite there yet, but I wouldn't be surprised by the time, I would say 2 years from now, he's going to overtake me. If that. He's been steadily growing, and I'm not worried about him defending himself or knowing what to do in a situation. He's very, he pays attention in karate. He's rather mature when it comes to that. I mean, he can get goofy and immature and do his little dance thing like all the other kids do. I don't know what they call that, floss or whatever. Very strange. But yeah, so he's going to be, like other kids who just follow a lot of stuff. But until you have your own identity, you'll follow a lot of trends. Even adults do it all the time. So it's not a big deal. So yeah, I'm gonna probably have a conversation later on with Scott. In the meantime, I'm probably gonna go through some stuff. I might just chill out tonight, to be honest. And if I start getting bored, then yeah, there's stuff to do. But I'm still continuing to go through things. I set a few things aside for him. There's stuff that I have, as far as donations. I got shredding I could be doing. I think I'm going to start listening to some podcasts this week as opposed to listening to music. There's certain podcasts that interest me. So by listening to podcasts, it allows me to get up and do things. That might even start as tonight, and I'll put a podcast on, and that'll allow me to go through other things. But honestly, I think I'm ahead of the curve here. I mean, there's still a lot of messy things that I have to go through, but the bulk of the big stuff or whatever, I think it's going to be taken care of. I've gone through pretty much the majority of the clothes. Almost all the valuables. I think I know where the few other things are. There might be some other things I'm going to be throwing out. There's a lot of weird stuff I just don't know what to do with. That's why I want to get my son to help me, and I should have done that. But we got time still. In the worst case scenario, if it comes down to, what I'm going to do or what I decide to throw out, eventually it's just going to come down to a decision, and it's just like, here, Do I throw it out, or do I, what do I do? I don't know. So we'll see. Anyways, that's it for now, guys. I'm gonna end this for now. I will, Scott, if you're listening to this, it's 7:24 p.m. I'll keep the Hangout available and my email open. At least I'll try to keep an eye on that in case you want to get through to me as far as a conversation, or I can email you my my phone number. It's a digital phone number that it's over the computer, and then that's another way that we can communicate if you want to do it that way. Not the greatest, but it's one of those things, but that way at least we can communicate and talk about things if your microphone's not working or whatever. So, but yeah, we'll figure things out. But until then, I'll be around tomorrow night regardless. A live stream will take place. I don't know what I'm doing, if I'm going to be dispatching. I might just what I might end up doing is hopping aboard one of those passenger trains if I'm not dispatching, and then we'll ride that across and hopefully make it interesting for a live stream, and I can comment. I'll keep the microphone open while I do things, and I'll try to make it interesting. We'll see how it goes. But that's it for now. I just ask everybody just to be patient in the next little bit. Obviously, this is something that's been weighing at me, and I want to make sure this is done. I'm in a good mood right now. I think things are going pretty good, but I don't want to procrastinate either. So that's why the priority is going to go for this month. Once February comes, it'll be back to sessions, but then it's also going to be the programming side of things, as I mentioned. I haven't forgotten about my goals. Those are still there regardless if my funds are better or whatever. My son's interested in programming. I have some projects I'm interested in. Who knows where Run 8's going to be? There was an update this week. We'll see how that goes. I don't think version 3 is coming hopefully relatively soon, but who knows. But that's it for now, guys. I'm going to get back to just relaxing and chilling for a little bit and doing a few other things to make the rest of my night enjoyable. So I will see you tomorrow evening, probably about this time tomorrow. I'll get online and we'll see what's going on. Okay, have a good one. We'll talk to you later. See ya.